Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. We got a great one on deck today as Nebraska and Oklahoma face off. We're going to be chopping it up. Before we get into it, again, just wanted to say thank you, especially to the Cornhusker fans and the Sooner fans. Both those fan bases have been absolutely active with us. We talk a lot of Nebraska. We talk a lot of Sooners football, especially as the Sooners have been dominating the recruiting trail. So we really do appreciate those fan bases. If you guys do like the content, consider subscribing. Again, we talk a lot of Sooners. We talk a lot of Nebraska football. There's quite frankly a lot to talk about within both programs. I'm going to kick it off to you. Talking about the game right now and obviously new head coach at Nebraska. What is your take on this game, week 3?
I don't totally see how it's particularly close, but I think if you're a Nebraska fan, you just want to see some fight. I think you want to show something like you're a competitive team because, frankly, up to this point, they've played very poorly. Northwestern, you could have thought, oh, maybe Northwestern's good this year. They just lost to Duke. Now this whole season, they need to show something against Oklahoma.
I think they need to show something in a couple of regards. One, get the recruiting going again. If you start becoming kind of like the doormat, that's not a good look for getting recruits into the program. I don't think this game will be I think there could be two ways. I think Oklahoma could really run away with it if Nebraska doesn't respond well to the new coaching and just the turmoil that's going on. This is a rivalry game. These guys care a lot about this game, and in rivalry games, it doesn't really matter how good or bad the teams are. We see this every year with Alabama, Auburn. Auburn can be really down, and they will play up to Alabama. I think you could see an example of this happening with the Sooners in Nebraska. My main issue is I don't know how Nebraska is going to stop this Oklahoma offense. When the Sooners are clicking with Dillon Gabriel and Jeff Levy, we talk about this all the time. There is not a better quarterback in college football to run that Jeff Levy scheme than Dillon Gabriel. With how quick his release is, how accurate he is with the football, and how well he can operate. I mean, they play very, very fast. If they get Nebraska on their heels, they're going down and scoring 7. That's going to be the story.
And Nebraska just hasn't been tackling well. If you watch what they're doing, that's an offense where you need to be able to tackle wideouts right when they catch it. And I don't really see that happening with Weiss and Mims and some of the other Farouk, guys who are really dynamic with the ball in their hands. Even Eric Gray, I think, is going to be a real problem.
Yes.
These guys who are hard to tackle have proven to be very difficult for Nebraska. If you watch them against Northwestern, tackling was brutal, and that was a big issue they had. And Heinrich might still not be playing, so that would be a real problem. And I don't know. I think just you're going to need to see a Nebraska team play with some fundamentals and tackle some guys.
I mean, quite frankly, it's just this Nebraska team, and we were drinking the Kool-Aid all offseason with the amount of talent they brought into the portal, how good of a roster at certain spots they had. We thought Nebraska would be a lot better of a team. I think a lot of people did across the country. You look at that defense, 492 yards per game allowed against teams Northwestern, Georgia Southern, North Dakota. That's not playing teams with high-octane offenses, and they are the ball's just moving up and down the field against this team. Oklahoma, they're going to be able to run the football on them. They're going to be able to throw the football. And quite frankly, Nebraska hasn't shown anything on defense. O'Shawn Mathis, the big transfer, hasn't really played that well. The backers, I think, have been probably the biggest disappointment watching that Northwestern game.
Yeah, it was really weak.
There's not much on this defense that you feel really good about, especially in the scope of stopping the best offense they will be facing all year.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing. It's I also think this will be by far the first defensive challenge Nebraska has, and I think a lot of people are on them. Oh, well, at least they can score. It's Duke scored almost, what did they score? 31 against Northwestern. So I don't think Northwestern's this vaunted defense that you've seen from Northwestern in the past. And obviously the other schools certainly aren't elite defenses. So I'm not, you even probably, what makes people think that Nebraska is going to score that many points? They've been shut down at times in this season. If you watch that Northwestern game, there were big swaths of that game where they couldn't do anything on offense.
That's the biggest storyline, in my opinion, is seeing this new Oklahoma defense led by BV smothering teams. We're so used to the Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, Oklahoma defense where we're just going to let you move the football and try to bow our backs in the red zone. which was so frustrating because of the dogs that Oklahoma had. I mean, you look back at that team last year, we talk about it a lot. Nick Bonito, Brian Asamoah, Isaiah Thomas, Perry Winfrey, some freaks in that front seven, and they weren't trying to pressure the quarterback. They were giving a lot of time to throw the ball and pretty much just playing this rush 3, drop 8, maybe Nick Bonito spying, which is lunacy that they ever had Nick Bonito spying the quarterback. He's like the best pass rusher in the country. I'm excited. This Nebraska offense is good. I like a lot of what they have. I think Adrian Martinez has been solid. The offensive line has had question marks, but Anthony Grant's run the ball extremely well from the JUCO ranks. Trey Palmer's come in and be productive at that wideout spot.
They have skill, but I don't actually see a way their offensive line blocks even close to the level they're going to need to make it happen, because they really had no chance against Northwestern. I don't think that Northwestern D-line is even close to Oklahoma.
That's what I'm most excited for as a kind of an honorary Sooner fan at this point this year. I mean, there's not many teams I'm rooting for every Saturday more than the Oklahoma Sooners outside of Michigan and Wake Forest. I mean, I really like what is going on in Norman. I'm excited to see what this Oklahoma defense looks like. Yeah, you play Kent State, which has a decent offense, shut them down. You shut UTEP down. This is easily going to be the best offense you play. Brent Venables has made it. Best quote of the day when Brent Venables gets asked, what do you think? What are your standards for the defense with being on the opposite side of Jeff Lebby running so fast, having to play so many drives? Brent Venables says, guess what? If you don't like being on the field, get off the field on third down, turn the ball over. That's what he's saying. The expectation stays. Like, we are not giving up points. We are not giving up yards. This will be a test against the Nebraska team that they have some weapons on the outside that can hurt you. I am very excited to see what this Oklahoma defense brings.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I'm if they can really just shut them down, I think they can. Oklahoma. I mean, they're looking super dangerous. I think if you're just looking at this national landscape, I'm not sure the Big 12 has a team that would be favored against Oklahoma at this point.
Outside of Texas, but without Quinn Ewers, who may or may not come back by that week, I think that Oklahoma is the best team in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like, Texas does look good, but that'd be a really tight game, I think, even with Ewers. I really hope Ewers does play, just as I know, because like that rivalry game would be electric with that. But keeping on this game, I don't really see how this is competitive, and as much as I think Nebraska should be able to score, I just don't see them being able to protect and deal with the pressure that Oklahoma is going to put on them.
That's what I'm leaning to too. I mean, looking at the spread, Oklahoma -11. Ideally, it gets inside of 10. I don't think it'll get there. I'm comfortable with Oklahoma winning by 2 scores here.
Oklahoma is going to score 40. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yeah, at least score 40. I think you're going to see some turnovers from Nebraska. You mentioned it best. Like, they got some dogs up front. Reggie Grimes, Jalen Redmond, Isaiah Coe I really like as well. Like, they got some guys who can get after the passer. Nebraska has shown that they are very leaky in pass protection. They can't really run the ball that efficiently. I mean, Anthony Grant's run the ball pretty well, but on a consistent basis against Northwestern, they could not run the ball.
He popped a couple plays against Northwestern, but typically it was very tough sledding.
It was tough sledding, and if you get in 3rd and long against the Sooners defense, you're not going to see the rush 3, drop 8, and try You're going to see BV come in and get after you. When Casey Thompson gets heated up, he does tend to make some poor decisions. I think you're going to see some turnovers. I think and kind of what you said, I don't see how Nebraska stops this Oklahoma offense that is going to get in your face.
And they're too fast. They're too fast to move the ball the way like Nebraska moved it against Northwestern, which took some hero plays that Thompson would escape the pocket and run around and make a play. I don't think that's so feasible because Casey Thompson he's a good athlete, but he's not a great athlete. And Oklahoma is just a different level of speed than a Northwestern. I don't think you can rely on making those plays outside the pocket.
I think the biggest mismatch is in that slot where JoJo Doman was so good for Nebraska as kind of that hybrid nickelback.
Yeah,
they don't have that guy this year, and that's a long. They kind of take like an undersized linebacker and ask him to kind of cover some really good athletes in the slot. And you put a guy like that on Marvin Mims, it's barbecue chicken. Like Marvin Mims is going to make that guy look silly. I don't see Nebraska like Isaac Gifford, that kind of Alec. You can't cover Marvin Mims. And if you get man coverage, you're giving up a touchdown. And you see Nebraska break down in the secondary. When Oklahoma is running fast and Nebraska has to get those plays in on defense, you'll see some breakdowns, I think, as well. I really do like Oklahoma to cover 2 scores again. If it gets inside of 10, which you might see just because Nebraska loves betting on their team. So you might see Vegas move the line. I think it's a hammer play. I still like the play now. And quite frankly, I think Sooners kind of roll through this one after kind of sleepwalking through the first half against Kent State. Sooners covering 11. You can book it from the ROC Boys. Again, both teams, though. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Even the Cornhuskers, we talk about Nebraska a lot. Obviously, a very unfortunate year. We'll be talking about their head coaching search in the future. So tune in for that. And again, appreciate you guys checking us out. And we will talk to y'all later. Peace.